Oh, alrighty. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the stream. As we know, DraftKings reported today. Good morning, everybody who's here so far. We have Sean, Mike, Hunter, Alex. So definitely here we have some nice earnings from DraftKings. They obviously reported this morning, and their stock has been all over the place, to the upside, also to the downside. You know, we had that big pop up towards $16 and started falling right back off to the downside here. So hopefully DraftKings holds up. I will say these numbers were looking pretty good. Good morning, Vicky. Glad to see you here too. But yeah, overall today, the SPY was very flat from the close of yesterday. We're kind of bouncing right on this 410 support. I'm a little bit worried. I will say the SPY does not look the best in my opinion. It kind of looks like it could end up selling off here. I don't think we'll see anything too crazy, but you know, it's definitely a possibility. So keep that in mind. But overall here, the market just not really doing too much today. Leading my watch list to the upside, looks like we actually have Crude Oil Futures, believe it or not, /CL popping back up to around 109, 110 dollars per barrel there. Looks like Square and Spotify are starting to move too. Square's up 1.7%, but as you can see, they're kind of falling off after that big pop with earnings yesterday. So these stocks are all over the place. I know we talked about Spotify a little bit over the past few days, and they're trying to pop up, but nothing crazy so far. I will say the only things I'm really seeing here are these oil plays like Oxy, HAL, CVX, Chevron. These stocks are kind of popping up, but still nothing crazy to the upside so far today. I'm seeing more of big moves to the downside, and I feel bad for poor Virgin Galactic or SPCE. They're really falling off, and you know, we just have a lot of these growth plays like Asana coming back down, along with Logitech, Fastly. Stocks like that are really starting to fall off here. But overall, hope you guys are having a great morning. We have Alex saying, while covering DraftKings, thoughts on short-term selling puts. What are good levels to watch out for? So Alex, that's a really good question. I think that's going to be amazing on DraftKings over the next few days. So if you look to sell some puts here, what I would do is look at the DraftKings daily chart. You know, what are the lows here? So the low of the past couple years, or I should say the all-time low, is around $13. So we're sitting at $14.38 right now. So if you're going to do shorter term cash secured puts, I don't think I'd do them for today. Obviously, it's Friday, but if you went out to like May 13th, which is the end of next week on DraftKings here, some of these puts at $13, which is the all-time low, are going for around, like right now, I would say the bid is 44, the ask is 49. You could probably get these for like $47, something like that. So if you do decide to sell that 13 strike for next week, you could pick up a nice $40, $50 almost just for selling that put. So I would look at like the $13 strike for next week, maybe go to 12 if you want to be a little bit safer, but I feel like that's a lot of premium just for 1 week of holding that cash secured put. So I think that's a good way to go, actually, Alex. Really good question. And as we know, DraftKings is getting super low, and personally, I feel like it's going to be a great buying opportunity over the next few months. We will get more into the earnings here in a couple minutes. I was just kind of waiting for everybody to get into the stream and stuff like that before I got too much into it, but let's go ahead and see. We have George saying, morning, may this be a bit less of a joke day for the market. So yeah, I feel you. I feel you, George. There's so many crazy movements that have been going on in the market lately, especially the past couple days. Like yesterday, you're right. It was almost like a joke with the way the SPY was selling off. I will say, though, it's not looking too good today, George. The SPY's coming right back to the downside, and we're retesting that 410 support today. So still not looking good. Lots of stocks are in the red. My watch list is definitely more red than it is green. So that definitely keep that in mind too. But yeah, if you guys want me to cover any specific stocks or anything, definitely let me know in the comments. But for right now, I think we're going to go ahead and get into those DraftKings earnings here. So they have a lot of big presentations. They obviously have their, their, I don't know what you'd call this. I guess it's their Q1 2022 earnings presentation. I know sometimes companies call these different things, but either way, they reported these awesome numbers here, and you can see that they actually raised their full year 2022 guidance, which to me, this is one of the biggest things that I saw from their earnings this morning. Raising guidance is always huge. So whenever companies report, especially lately, I feel like the guidance has been more important almost than the current numbers, because I feel like over the next couple months with everything going on between the Feds raising rates and everything, I feel like it's really important for these companies to have a good outlook. So I'm glad to see that DraftKings is raising their outlook here. You can see that if we look at in terms of their revenue, they said that they have 44% in year-over-year growth with this revenue in Q1. So that's huge to see there. They expanded their breadth of OSB micro and same game parlay markets, which is great. I've seen that they've talked about their NFTs a lot. And what's also big to me is that they launched in New York and Louisiana. Obviously, to me, New York is the big one. I've been talking about that actually for the past few days now. So now that they reported, I was hoping that New York would help them bring in some extra revenue, and they're live to 36% of the U.S. population for online sports betting, which is definitely cool there. 36% is over 1/3. So I guess we'll take that for DraftKings. They can always still grow, but it's cool to see them becoming implemented everywhere else. But overall here, we have this awesome article on Yahoo Finance, and they pretty much say that, like I said before, revenue increased 44% year over year. And what I really like here is that I can see some statements from the DraftKings co-founder, Jason Robbins. So as I'm reading this, he says, DraftKings delivers significant growth across our key revenue and performance metrics. And then he said, we are not seeing any impact from inflationary pressures on customer demand, and we continue to improve the user experience by adding breadth and depth to our DFS, mobile sports betting, and iGaming products. We are also improving our efficiency in acquiring and retaining customers and have a strong pipeline of new jurisdictions to enter. And I think that's really important what he said there. Have a strong pipeline of new jurisdictions to enter. So that means that they're just going to be trying to obviously get sports betting legalized in more states. And I think that they are expecting that to happen over the next couple years. So that's great to see. Also said that they're pleased with their strong revenue and adjusted guidance there. So glad to see that. Overall, it was some pretty good numbers. Like I said, the revenue increased 44% year over year. We came in at 417 million. So I'll definitely take it. It's It's an awesome thing there. Yeah, George. I know my Portuguese improved overnight. That's hilarious. I know that yesterday I was pronouncing your name a little bit off there. I actually got off, went on YouTube and looked up the Portuguese accent version of it, and I was like, man, I actually talked to Mike about it too. So pretty funny there, George. But yeah, I figured it out. Glad I'm pronouncing it right for you. But that's hilarious. So looking at these stocks today. Still, nothing really in the green here. Actually, my watch list has been slowly falling more to the downside here into the red. So as I look at my watch list, pretty much the only things green today for me are McDonald's, Kraft Heinz, CVX, Oxy, oil plays like this, Lockheed Martin, Dominion Energy. You know, anything that deals with energy or oil seems like it's up, which is good, I guess, if you're into those types of plays. But either way, it kind of looks like they're falling back off too, actually, over the past like 3 to 5 minutes. Even though they're still up in the green, they're falling back off. But all these other stocks are starting to fall back down too. Like poor Twitter today, they fell below this big $50 support and it's starting to really sell off here. So we're seeing some big moves today, guys, and unfortunately, it's not back to the upside. It's kind of continuing off of those bad moves from yesterday. So not good for the market. I'm sure we're going to see the SPY down here. And we did. Yeah, SPY broke below 410 all the way down around 408 now. So wow, guys, definitely some big swings. And I hate to see it. You know, it seemed like the market was doing so good after Powell spoke on Wednesday. And then yesterday we just gave all of those gains back and kind of seems like the selling pressure's coming in. Hey, good morning, Atasmic. Glad to see you in here. If you guys want to see any stocks or anything like that, just let me know in the comments. I'll definitely bring them up here and we'll talk about those. But for right now, unfortunately, looks like the main plays are to the downside. So I'm going to kind of eye up Shopify here. They are really selling off today ever since open. They broke right below $400, which was actually a key psychological level for them. So that is not good to see that they broke that key support level there. That's definitely a bad thing to see. But overall, you know, Shopify has been looking okay over the past, like, I was going to say it was looking okay, but now that we broke below support, definitely not too good here. You know, we were consolidating with earnings right around 400, but today we just started really breaking down on the daily. So not good there to see it at all. I know that we've seen Shopify had crazy moves like this and Spotify too. Spotify is kind of selling back off towards that big $100 support now. So as I'm looking at Spotify here, I could probably see them falling back down to around 100 today too. So maybe this will be a good play if you guys are looking for some day trades or anything like that. But yeah, Spotify, some bad moves this morning. And man, it seems like just all these poor growth plays are coming right back to the downside. Even Lucid, you know, Lucid had earnings last night and they were actually holding up okay. I will say though, the earnings didn't wow me by any means. And if anything, it made me a little bit more worried about Lucid because their production numbers were so low and they only expect to produce like 20 to 25,000, something like that, vehicles this year. And they have like 30,000 pre-orders. So they're not able to even fill all of those orders, which is, in my opinion, a bad thing to see. You know, obviously production numbers are huge for these EV companies, and Lucid obviously reported bad numbers. So there they go, right back to the downside, all the way down to 1773. Let's see that max daily. How low are they getting here? Okay, so they're not breaking below support from a couple weeks ago yet, although they're really, really close. So if Lucid breaks below $17, it'll start making new yearly lows. So definitely keep your eyes on that one. That's going to be a pretty big thing to look at today for Lucid if they can hold up. I'm sure Rivian is also selling off. And yeah, Rivian is breaking down as well. Actually worse than Lucid. They're breaking below the support from last week, breaking below $30. So yeah, Rivian's looking brutal today, actually. I will say this one might continue with a lot of momentum. You know, it sucks to see these EV stocks continue to report bad price or bad growth here. And yeah, Jerry says, and they're hiking prices. So yeah, exactly. You know, Lucid's cars are already expensive, and yeah, they're just getting more expensive, and obviously Rivian's too. So definitely crazy there, and it's just gonna hurt their orders. You know, Tesla's out here producing like 500,000 vehicles a year, and they're expected like a million a year this year. So looking at it overall, I just can't believe that Lucid is coming in with such low numbers. Like, they produced only like 300 vehicles last quarter. That's like nothing, guys. Like, that's like nothing in the vehicle industry. If you look at stuff like Ford and Toyota and even Tesla, even they produce a lot. So pretty crazy to see. Good morning, Iranical. He says, do you have any idea about when this sell-off can be finished? So, Iranical, I wish I had that. I wish I could tell. If I could, I would definitely throw my life savings at it, that's for sure. But as we know, you'd almost need like a crystal ball to predict the bottom in this market. This market's insane. But what I will say, Iranical, is that overall, I think that the market can continue down for the next couple of weeks to couple of months. So personally, I feel like we're going to see a bit more of a downtrend. Even before Powell spoke, I was really worried about the market dropping. I was happy to see him make the market come up, but we've seen this happen in the past where the market rises when he speaks, and then over the next few weeks or days, it starts to fall back off. And, it was unfortunate to see the market down this much, but we're about to break back below like 405, which is a big support on the SPY, and then we're going to be testing $400. So I guess to answer your question, Iranical, in my opinion, I feel like we're going to see a downtrend for a couple more months. I just feel like there's too much pressure on the markets between the Fed's tightening, Russia, and then obviously just everything else going on. I know there's even some news with China and stuff like that. So it's definitely not good for the market, and inflation's going rampant. So we'll have to see what happens. But I feel like that for the next couple months, we might start falling back below like $400 with the SPY. So just keep that in mind. Iranical, it's always, I'm trying to do this on more of like a macroeconomic sense too. Like, obviously there's a lot of small economic factors that are also affecting the markets, like treasury yields rising and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to pretty much give the macroeconomic sense here. So I could see us maybe like hovering somewhere around like 380 to 400 for the next couple months, and then maybe starting to go back up after the Feds are done with all of their tightenings. But right now, the Feds are selling out of their bonds, they're raising rates, and we're starting to see the markets go crazy because of it. Ever since the beginning of this year, the markets hit a plateau of 480 on the SPY, and we've just been steadily kind of falling off ever since then. So definitely not good there. Hopefully I'm wrong. I hope the market comes back up, but yeah. Let's see. Neighbor Jay says, morning guys, keep up the good work. So yeah, thanks for joining, neighbor. Glad to see you here. And yeah, definitely let me know if you guys want me to cover any specific stocks. Jerry says, have you ever seen a market move like this before? Yes, Jerry, I actually have. I was trading a lot back in like 2015, 2016. That's like right around when I first started trading. And I remember that there was some stuff going on with like Yellen and like rising rates and stuff like that. So if I go back to 2015, you can see for the year of 2014 and then 2015, the market was actually pretty flat, believe it or not. So here we go, right here in the middle of 2015, you can see there was a big sell-off there for a few days in the market. And I remember a lot of people were saying like, there was a big crash and blah, blah, blah. And, people were worried about recession and all this stuff at the time. But, the market ended up coming back. But the reason I want to point this out is just look at the volatility that the SPY can have. So here's what I want to do. I want to go to percentages here. And we're going to go from the low to the high of this range and see how volatile the SPY was. So, if we go from the bottom to the top here, so from the from the bottom to the top, the SPY had a nice 15% pop back up. And then as it started falling back down, it was falling down like 13, 14, almost 15%. So, we were seeing a pretty big swing out of the SPY. 14 to 15% is a pretty big move. Now let's see what the move is. Right now, I believe it's like right around 14, 15%. Yeah, right here. It's right around 15% right now. So if we do continue to sell off, I think it can get a little bit more accelerated and obviously have some more crazier price action. So I haven't really seen like this exact movement like this, Jerry, but like we've seen a lot of volatility in the past. Like if we go back on SPY here, you can see that there's just been a lot of volatility. Whether it's 2015, even like if you go to like 2018, 2018 or 2017, for example. You can see there was a lot of volatility with the SPY. I remember, I don't know if anyone remembers. If you do remember, let me know in the comments down below. There was a big thing going on in 2018 with Trump and China where they kind of got into a big spat. I remember there was a whole bunch of stuff going on with tariffs and everything like that. And the SPY really sold off, like in a major way. It was a big sell-off. Let's see the percentage move down. It sold off almost 20%. So keep that in mind. You know, the SPY has periods of volatility, and I think it's normal. You know, the markets can't always go straight up. Normal price action always includes moves to the downside too. So keep that in mind. The markets don't always go straight up. We do have every once in a while like a bad year or a bad couple of years. So definitely keep that in the back of your head as you're trading over the next few weeks. But really good question, Jerry. You know, it's pretty cool to go back and look at other times in the market where we've had bad movement and stuff and try to analyze everything that happened. So really good question there. Sean says 405 then 400. What's your next number below that out of curiosity? So yeah, 405 to 400 is going to be huge, I think. If we start breaking below that, let me go back here a little bit. So if we start breaking below 400, I think the next major support we're going to see is going to be somewhere really close to 375 to 380. Definitely give or take a couple dollars. You know, the SPY is huge, so you know, it could always make like a dollar, like run an extra dollar or so in either direction. But I will say, I think 375 to 380 will be a very big level when the SPY breaks below 400. So watch for that. And then below there, I see 360 as the next major support below like 375. So we do have some big levels coming up, and man, I really hope we don't hit them, but I have a bad feeling that we're going to. You know, there's a lot of selling pressure. A lot of stocks are down today, and the market's definitely not looking the best technically. And, you know, I mean, I guess I could say fundamentally, you know, a lot of these stocks are moving to the downside, even like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla. You know, these big tech stocks that have been holding up the market are starting to really come down. So overall, we're just seeing some bad swings. And as far as the SPY with technicals here, it's looking terrible, guys. So if we can go back on SPY all the way back to the COVID crash for some of these trend lines here. So you can see how the SPY's been honestly bouncing a lot off of this red trend line right where my cursor is here. And it's been moving quite a bit, and we're starting to break below it now. So definitely not good to see there. You know, we're breaking below that trend line, and we're kind of confirming off of it right where I'm like hovering my cursor right now. That recent pop we had up to 430 and then back down is a huge resistance there. So keep that in mind. You know, the SPY is just not looking good technically, and we're seeing a lot of bad moves in the overall market here. So just keep that in mind over the next few days. Neighbor says, I got eyes on AMD today, hoping it breaks below 90 for my puts. And I hope it does for you, neighbor. You know, AMD has been all over the place. Let's see, $90. Yeah, $90 is a pretty big support. You're right. So if it does break below 90, I hope you get some good moves out of that. I will say, though, neighbor, it kind of looks like there's another big support here around like $92. So if it ends up falling below 92, I think that could also work out as a really good play to the downside. Let me go ahead and get the day trades from today. So Mike's free day trade today was AMD actually, and he said if it breaks below $92 to look at a quick scalp to the downside. So that could be a good play here. You know, if it breaks below 92, maybe AMD could be a really good like quick in and out day trade today. I think that could work, neighbor. And you know, I hope it gets down to 90 for you, but even if it breaks 92, I'll take that one for sure. Lewis says, good luck today, guys. Yeah, thank you. Good luck to you too. Hopefully we have a good Friday. Happy end of the week. Mike says, happy Friday, everyone. Yeah, happy Friday. Let's end the week strong here. It's been a pretty volatile week, to say the least. You know, like, look at AMD here. I think AMD shows the volatility in a really good way. So, you know, we were booming up to start the week, looking pretty good. And then, obviously, when Powell spoke, it was still looking great. But now the past couple days, we're flying right back to the downside. I think AMD's chart is really showing this in a good way. Dennis says, good morning. Thoughts on Apple puts today? Let's see. AAPL. Wow, Dennis, I personally think that these are going to be a pretty good play today. Apple puts, just keep in mind, Apple fell a lot yesterday. So I'm not sure it's going to continue down with a ton of momentum today. But if we do continue to see this selling pressure that we're seeing right now for the next couple hours, then maybe Apple could keep moving. It definitely can. There's a big support down here around 153 or 154. So definitely be careful of that. But I do feel like Apple will keep selling off over the next week or so. If I look at them on the 1 year daily, they just had lower highs, which is never a good technical sign. And they're about to break some pretty key supports here. So they're slowly approaching 150, which I think is a huge level on Apple. You can see they've had a few bounces at 150 in the past. So I think 150 is going to be the main level I'm looking at over the next couple of weeks. Like if we see a big drop below there, then I'll probably be a lot more into the puts. But for right now, Apple's a hard one to short, but today intraday definitely looks pretty good. Let's see. Atosmic says the IV on Apple is high. Let's see that. Yeah, the 1 year daily. It definitely kind of is. It's starting to sell off a little bit, and it's causing that IV to definitely pop up. I will say it's not the highest it can be. It could be a little bit worse, but overall, it still is high, especially for Apple. I would say if the IV was more around like 35 or 33%, that would be a little bit more mid-range, but it's definitely up towards that upper echelon there for sure. Atosmic says, please confirm the IV should be low, whether you buy a call or a put. Thanks. So yeah, Atosmic, that is a big question there. So whenever the IV's up, it obviously means that the options are going to be worth a little bit more as those premiums start to rise. So, you always want low IV if you can get it, Atosmic, but sometimes atomistic. How do I pronounce that there? But either way, Adam, I'll just call you Adam. How about that? But Adam looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. It's just the main thing is with IV is that if it's high, it's obviously going to make the options cost more. So you have to be very careful when entering your positions, and timing makes a lot bigger of a difference when the IV is high. So, like if you shorted Apple yesterday right at open and the IV was high, you still would have done well because, Apple had such a big move to the downside. But with the IV being so high, it means that you have to have a bigger move almost for that play to work too. So, for example, like if the IV was really high with Apple yesterday and it started falling, it would have to fall significantly more to profit with that IV being high. So keep that in mind. That's always a big thing to look at there. But I agree, you always want lower IV if you can get it. It's just that you can't always find those types of setups. Like I know a couple weeks ago, for example, like with these growth stocks here, you can go to the max daily chart. Like look at the IV on Draftkings. It's all the way up to 113%. We've been seeing the IV shoot up lately, and that's because a lot of these stocks have been falling down, and it's been causing a lot of volatility, and that's the main thing. It's causing so much volatility that it's just making the price of options rise. So it's making it hard to buy options down here on some of these stocks. Like obviously with DraftKings, it's like, hey, it's almost at all-time lows. It's probably a good time to grab leaps, right? And you would think it would be, but that IV being so high kind of turns me off to leaps. So that would be a situation then where I might get shares or something like that. So to answer your question, that's definitely a big deal with the IV. You always want it to be low if you can. For day trades, it's not as big of a deal, but it still affects it in a big way. So yeah, I would say just as low as you can get with the IV is better, Adam. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Jerry says, could you look at Square for me? Let's check out Square. Wow, they sold off in a big way today, Jerry. That is not good to see. So looking at Square, they are all the way down below $90. That is a big drop, Jerry. Those earnings were terrible last night. And, actually, they weren't terrible earnings. Honestly, I didn't think they were terrible. I thought they were okay. But now the stock's selling off, obviously, and it's just a bad move. And honestly, like, when we see Square moving like this, I hate to say it, but it's just moving like all the other growth plays. I feel like there's so many stocks down 7-8% today. Like Square is a big one. Palantir's down. Beyond Meat down. Look at poor Palantir today, all the way down to $9.42. Let's see that. It's the new yearly low. Oh my gosh, guys. These sell-offs are getting brutal. But yeah, my main point is that with Square, it's down, but we're seeing a lot of other growth plays dragging it down too. I was hoping that they would hold up with those earnings last night, but man, I guess it's not happening. At open today, looks like they're coming back to reality. So hate to see that, but it was looking pretty good yesterday, Jerry. I still think, though, for the longer term, Square is going to be an amazing play. So, like, over the next, 3 to 6 months, I just feel like grabbing shares of Square down here will be a great way to go, Jerry. Whether it's Square or Facebook or DraftKings or Lucid even, or Roblox, or Teladoc, Unity. I mean, you name it. There's so many opportunities to be grabbing shares down here with these growth stocks. Like, obviously, they can keep going down, as we've been seeing over the past couple months, but I do feel like they have a good shot to come back up here pretty soon. So, honestly, though, it probably will take a couple months. We're not just going to go flying right back to the upside. Keep in mind, when I say soon, I mean like maybe in a couple months. I'm kind of like a longer term trader, so I'm not really out here, looking at too much intraday action all the time. But, honestly, those longer term plays can work out really well. So if you can acquire some shares, maybe short some cash secured puts here, I think it'd be a great way to go. So let's see here. Ironical says AMD is green. Is it really? Wow, it is. It's up 0.5%. Glad to see that. Wow, they're coming back up. They're pretty much like the only tech stock green on my watch list today. So that's cool to see. Glad to see them holding their ground. And, they did very well with earnings last week. But I will say I'm still not going to be too bullish on them if the market keeps pulling back. It's just a really bad look to see the SPY keep selling off like this. So it'll be tough for AMD to go up if this keeps happening. Oliver says Lyft, Uber, and Dash got the chop. Let's see. Yeah, oh man, Dash really falling off. Uber also to the downside. Yeah, they're breaking a lot lower there. Adam says, what time frame should you look at to determine lower high IV? 1 year, 2 years, or more or less? Thanks. So yeah, really good question, Adam. So if we're looking at IV, I think it's important to look at like the past year's IV, obviously. So, like, if I look at DraftKings, I'm going to go back to, maybe May of last year and see what the IV was looking at then. So, if we go back to May of last year, DraftKings was all the way up around, $50 to $60, somewhere in that range. It started really selling off in May. But as we can see, that IV was somewhere like 66, 70%. And now we have that IV at 114%. So, you can see that it's a lot different. And there's a lot of price action that has happened with DraftKings since then too. So you can see the IV was getting super low as DraftKings was kind of popping up, which that usually happens. The IV usually goes down when stocks rise, and it usually starts to pop up when stocks go down. Now that doesn't always happen. Keep in mind there is some special scenarios like earnings and other things like that can make IV go up when the stocks go up, of course, but it's not usually what happens. So keep that in mind. But good question. I would say go back over the past year or 2 years and look at the IV and just really try to form a nice midpoint with it. So for example, we have the low end at 50% here. We have the high end at 115%. So what I'm going to do is say the midpoint somewhere 80%, somewhere right around the middle. So if it was somewhere more around 80%, I would think DraftKings would be priced a little bit better right now. But since it's high at 114, obviously we have to look at it as having a high IV. But really good question, Adam. That's a great question. Alex says, your Neo trade for puts was great. Nice 20%. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, awesome day trade with Neo. It just kept selling off today, and it was looking brutal there. Great in and out trade. Yeah, we broke right below 15. Fell down to 14.46. That was a nice little 50-cent move down. So glad you were able to make that quick 20%, Alex. That's a really good move there. Raymond's got the fire going in the chat. Glad to see that. Raymond, you should send out some red or something, because this market is, it's not fire, that's for sure. It's definitely the opposite. We have space kind of really selling off down 12%. Like I said before, Palantir was just looking nuts today to the downside. Oh, that's nuts. Let's see. Hunter says, can we take a look at ARKK, please? Oh no, Hunter, I don't even want to look at ARKK, to be honest. I know this is going to be terrible. Let's see. Jerry says LMAO to the upside. yeah, LMAO at Hunter's question, right? Let's check it out. ARKK, wow, all the way down to 43.99. Another down 6.9% again. Let's see this on the max daily. Oh man, Hunter, we are making new yearly lows. This is brutal, guys, brutal. We're almost down to the lows of COVID. I mean, if we get down to $40 and then to that low of like 32, I'll almost cry, guys. I'll get up in a ball and I'll go sit in the corner and I'll just weep all throughout the trading day today because I just cannot believe how low ARKK is getting. But you know, as we talk about, Kathy made a lot of mistakes, and you know, a lot of people were loving Kathy a while ago, and you know, she probably deserved the love for a while. You know, a lot of those stocks were flying up and she was doing great, but as we know, those valuations came back to reality, like Palantir, Zoom. You know, poor Zoom, $588 down to $95 now and going lower. That's terrible. I can't believe she was in this one so high. Like the crazy thing to me with ARKK and all of Kathy's positions isn't even the fact that she's down. Like, I could understand that maybe a lot of funds and things like that are down right now with stocks falling. But man, I mean, just to see how high they got into a lot of these stocks at was nuts. Like, she was buying up Zoom at like $400 or $500, and you know, Draftkings and all these other plays like Teladoc, Palantir. I mean, look at Teladoc. She's still in them, and they're just continuing to get destroyed. It's just it's terrible. I can't believe that she made that many mistakes buying at the top in so many different cases. But I know it's a tough market, but I hope this goes to show you guys that even some of the bigger players can get burned, and it's always important to take what analysts say with a grain of salt. You know, I know everyone used to post videos of Kathy on YouTube talking about genomics and about, you know, innovation in different industries and stuff like that. And, you know, it's kind of cool, but in the end, you know, she can generate a lot of hype, but, you know, and whenever these valuations come back to reality, you get destroyed, and sucks to see there. Jerry says coin too. Let's see that. Coinbase. How low are they at nowadays? Let's see, $100. Let's see on the max daily. Wow. Yeah, that is an all-time low there, right around 100. Maybe this will be a new low for COVID or for coin here, Jerry. This is a big psychological level at $100, and let's see how close it got. It got within 25 cents. This might not be a bad support play here. I know that, you know, obviously it's just a support, so keep in mind if Bitcoin and everything like that keeps falling, Coinbase can definitely keep falling too, but $100 is a pretty big psychological level. Might not be bad here, Jerry. I'm glad you actually said Coinbase. I know you weren't talking about it as a buy, but still, I mean, that's a big psychological level, and I'll be curious to see if it holds this over the next few days for sure. But yeah, kind of going back to ARKK, those were some pretty bad moves to the downside, and yeah, it's just when you buy stocks too high, this is what happens. You know, this is why a lot of people like Warren Buffett and bigger investors sometimes talk about sitting on cash. And I think this is a really important thing for people to look at, because whenever you have cash, a lot of people are like, hey, you know, I'm holding cash, you know, inflation's going up. What do I do? You know, I need to buy some stocks. I need to buy gold or whatever it is and, you know, hold that. But sometimes just holding your cash in the bank and just waiting for a good buying opportunity is another good way to go. Or you could maybe buy some gold or something like that and then sell it once you're ready to use the cash. But either way, you know, holding cash or holding some type of asset that's not too volatile will be a really good way to go, obviously. And, you know, people like Buffett have been holding cash over the past couple of years because the market just got so high that a lot of these big investors kind of thought in their heads, or at least they had analysts and stuff like that talking to them, and they're like, hey, we're probably going to see a market pullback eventually, especially as the Feds start to raise rates and stuff. And I'm sure a lot of people have been selling out of positions up here at the top. If you're a big hedge fund and you're up, a few hundred million right now because this crazy uptrend with the SPY, it's always good to take some profits, and I'm sure that's what we're seeing happen across the board with funds, even with algorithms and stuff like that. I'm sure we're seeing them start to sell out too, and it's just causing a lot of volatility in the shorter term here. But yeah, if you guys are still interested in any stocks, don't forget to leave them in the comments. Still looking to find some crazy plays today. I feel like we could get some pretty good moves going, especially to the downside today. Let's see. So Jerry says Intel's ripping INTC. Wow, it really is right back to the upside. That's a cool sight to see. I know AMD was kind of coming up too. Yeah, look at that. AMD right back to the upside today. That's a pretty crazy sight to see. I was kind of thinking they'd start falling back off today, especially with how the overall market was moving. But wow, cool to see these chip plays coming back. I bet Nvidia's green too. Well, they're trying. They're still red, but they are coming back up with those other stocks. So that's good to see. Crazy stocks, Jerry. I can't believe Intel's still ripping here. That's a good thing to see. I know I'm holding Intel, so I'm definitely happy to see him up. I know that Intel's been crazy off this green support level over the past few years. Like, look at all these bounces. You can go back to 2018 and we've been holding this green support. So pretty crazy. It's right around $42 to $44. So huge levels that we're sitting at, and definitely having some big moves here. Mike says, thoughts on picking up cost at $500 or wait till it drops lower? So Mike, I would say wait till it drops lower. I know it's down quite a bit. Let's see that max daily. Yeah, personally, I just think it's a little bit too high right now. But what I will say with Costco is that it's a very safe stock, or it has been over the past few years. It's had a lot of great movement to the upside. Just keep in mind that, when stocks go up, they generally start to come back down a little bit too. So at some point here, I feel like Costco might come down and retest like 450 or something like that, especially with the market selling off. But they've been doing really well, especially with inflation and everything. It's been a fairly good play. For me, for the long term, I would wait to buy it. But Mike, if you like it for the long term, then it might be a good pickup here. You're getting it at a $100 discount from $600 down to $500, and it could definitely be the low. Although, like I said, in my opinion, I think it could go a little lower. So I would wait, and if I was gonna grab shares or something, I'd probably do a cash secured put down here. I know the cash secured puts might be a little bit expensive on a $400 stock, but still, it might be a better way to go if you can do that. Let's see, Mike. Mike says CRSR reversing in a good way. So let's see that. CRSR, Corsair here. Yeah, that's great to see. Wow, they're coming right back up. Hopefully a lot of the growth plays are moving back. Yeah, Corsair had earnings too today, or yesterday after the market closed, and I'm glad to see him back up. That's a great sign here. On the daily, they were starting to get so low that I was getting pretty worried, guys, to be honest. For Corsair and a few other stocks, they were just selling off in such major ways. But I will say this recovery today is quite welcoming. I'm definitely glad to see that. That's a pretty big move back up. Let me see some of these numbers here for Corsair with their earnings from yesterday. Let's see if I can find maybe a good report here. So yeah, let's see. They reported their financial results. Have it up here right here on the screen for everybody. So let's see here. Their net revenue was $380.7 million, in line with their preliminary revenue. So that's good. It also represents a 23.4% increase from their pre-pandemic first quarter, which is good, but a decrease of 28.1% compared to their first quarter of 2021. So that's not good. And they're saying that was because there was stimulus checks and pent-up demand. So of course they're going to come up with some excuses, but that's definitely not good to see that their revenue was down 28.1% compared to that first quarter. Like they said, though, they do have some excuses like the stimulus checks, and there were chip delays and too much demand for chips at the time and stuff. So that's big. says their gamer and creator peripheral segment revenue was up 134.1 million. Now that one's big. It's up 76.8%, but still though down 23.7% compared to the first quarter of 2021. So not good there. Let's see their outlook here, 15.4 million compared to 80.4 million in the first quarter of 2021. Wow, so it seems like their numbers are definitely going down from last year, but it is good to see them holding up from their pandemic levels or pre-pandemic levels. So I guess you could take that with a grain of salt, but either way, Corsair's coming back today. The earnings were kind of mixed, but yeah, it's coming back, and hopefully it keeps rising. You know, that would obviously be best case scenario here, so definitely keep your eyes on that one. You know, Draftkings, I wonder how they're moving. Oh man, they're falling back off again. Yeah, they fell all the way down to 13.11. They're just kind of consolidating. Hopefully Draftkings can start coming back up with some of these other growth plays today. You know, like kind of like Corsair. You know, some of the other ones are starting to come back up into the green a little bit. So hopefully we see Draftkings continue up. But I will say I'm not betting on that today. I don't think that we're going to see too good of price action out of these stocks, in my opinion. Let's go back to that SPY. Let's see how the SPY is doing. Still kind of coming up. Looks kind of like Draftkings. You know, it was falling off at market open, but over the past like 20 minutes or so has just been consolidating here around these daily lows. So definitely some bad sell-offs back to the downside today, guys. And I hope there's not any more crazy news that comes out, because I know we've just been seeing so much selling pressure lately with the Feds raising rates and with all this stuff going on with Ukraine. And then there's obviously issues with inflation and demand and everything like that. So hopefully we start to see the economy get a little bit better. But, you know, right now we're not seeing that happen. And I'm on CNBC here trying to look at maybe some big headlines. And there was a pretty big headline this morning about payroll growth. So we can see it says payroll growth accelerated by 428,000 in April, more than expected as the jobs picture stays strong. And I think this is important to see, because I know yesterday, as Powell, or I should say earlier in the week, whenever Powell was speaking, he did say that the jobs market and the economy was still holding up pretty well. So to see that they're doing good here with their payrolls is great, and it came in above the Dow Jones estimate of 400,000. So pretty nice beat there. Looks like the unemployment rate held at 3.6%, but they were expecting to move down to 3.5%. So that's not the best to see, but overall, the main thing is that the jobs market's holding up good. You know, to see payrolls coming higher than the estimate's great. Wages rose 0.3% and were up 5.5% from a year ago. I've been hearing a lot about wages increasing lately, which, you know, probably has to happen with inflation, but that's also gonna hurt inflation too. So it's you know, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on with the economy right now, and with all these jobs numbers, and you know, obviously the interest rates and everything like that. Wow, let's see. It says Russia. Oh, this is not good news here, guys. Russia renews assault on. I'm not even going to try to say this this town here, but they renewed an assault on like the steel plant here ahead of Victory Day. I know that there was a lot of Ukrainians holding out in the steel plant in Mariupol. Okay, this is in Mariupol, which is big. So as we look at Mariupol, you can see that there's an estimated 200 people that are thought to be trapped there, with like little access to food and water. I've actually been keeping up with this situation quite a bit over here with Mariupol. So, honestly, we have Victory Day coming up, as they said, on May 9th, which is going to be on Monday. And a lot of people are kind of contemplating that Russia might try to do something, because Victory Day was kind of like the day that marked like the end of World War II, for example. So to see that, to see Victory Day coming in is going to be pretty big here. So I know that, it's going to be a huge day, obviously, for Russia and for a lot of European countries, and I hope that Russia doesn't do anything. You know, it obviously would be terrible if they started assaulting or bombing that steel plant or whatever they do, but I do feel like, though, at some point, you know, Mariupol will fall. You know, it's going to happen. There's only a few hundred people in the steel plant, and like they say, little access to food or water. So at some point, they're going to have to leave that area. So I don't know. It's a tough situation, and it's just more bad things weighing in on our markets, which is not good. And I wonder if that's part of the reason why SPY is down today. But as of right now, the SPY is kind of picking back up, it looks like, over the past couple of minutes, which is kind of awesome to see. Glad to see SPY coming back, and honestly, not too bad of a recovery here. I'll take it. It's coming back up over the past few minutes, and looks like we're going to retest this 410 resistance. I will say, though, guys, I don't expect the SPY to, fly up all day or anything like that. I do feel like this might just be regular price action, but overall, glad to see it coming up the past couple minutes. And like Mike and Jerry and a few other people were pointing out, we do have some of these stocks coming back too, like Corsair has some more green coming in. AMD is now up 3%, and it just keeps moving higher, which is a great thing to see. These chip stocks are definitely big, and they help the market. Here's Apple here. Apple's coming back up to the upside too. That's great, actually. Apple's breaking above the after-hours highs of yesterday, so we're seeing some great recoveries, actually. My watch list is coming back up into the green, which is great. Tesla's even back up green, which is awesome. They're up 0.17%, so nothing crazy, but the comeback is definitely happening here. Gold is back up green too. Even it's starting to pop, so I'll take it. And guys, if you guys are looking for some day trades, I feel like right now some stocks are starting to get some good momentum. Qualcomm coming up too. Even Amazon is starting to break back to the upside after a brutal past few weeks. So yeah, cool to see these stocks moving up, and I hope there's some good news that starts coming out soon about whether it's Ukraine or anything like that. But yeah, hopefully that helps out the market there, and I hope we keep coming. The SPY just has a lot of momentum right now, actually. Look at this. Look at the past couple minutes here. It's just been straight up. So I'll take this price action for sure over what we saw at market open. Let's see the NASDAQ. Yeah, the NASDAQ is really recovering, almost back up to that 314 high of pre-market. So definitely take that. Let's see some of these stocks that have been trying to pop up lately, like some of these reopening plays, for example, like Delta Airlines and different plays like that. I noticed were really down today. Like poor Delta's down 3.2% again, and it's not really coming back today. Like a lot of growth stocks are starting to pop back to the upside, but we have Delta just sitting right here around those lows. So not good to see with them. We have Delta, we have American Airlines, we have Southwest. Yeah, all of them are still just sitting low down here, which is not a good sign. We had the VXX falling back off after a pretty good pop yesterday, which is expected with the SPY coming back up right now. I wonder how Lucid is moving today. Let's see. Lucid up, down actually 3%, but I will say it's been really recovering off that low today. From the low to now, they're up another 4.4%. So this stock has been extremely volatile today. Keep this one on the radar. I feel like this one will continue to move in a crazy way. I'm sure we'll continue to see big swings out of this, especially with their earnings that came out last night. That's definitely going to be a big factor to look at with Lucid over the next couple of weeks to even for the next year or so. Those earnings are going to be very important because, as we know, those production numbers and stuff need to come in high, and they've been coming in low. So we need to see these EV companies do better with production, and they need to do a lot better. It's not like they're just, it's not like they're missing their goals by a little bit. In my opinion, they've been missing their goals by a lot. I know that especially on those last reports, like Rivian, for example, was doing terrible. So I know Rivian's going to be reporting soon again. Let's see. They report on May 11th. So definitely look for that next week. That's going to be next week on Wednesday. So keep your eyes out for Rivian. But yeah, so far stocks are trying to come back today. I will say it's not the best day to be a trader. Stocks are all over. We didn't really get any good continuations either way. Stocks started falling lower, and now they're recovering up, and kind of looks like on like Intel's case, for example, like it might be trying to pop back down again now. So I feel like the market's just extremely volatile right now, and keep that in mind. Ever since Powell spoke, the market's been up, down, up, down, up, down. It's just been like a constant, like every 12 hours, I feel like the market's reversing. Like we can go look at the SPY this week, and it's just been all over the place. You have like those big crazy runs of the upside, and then followed by immediate sell-offs, and then what do we see this morning again? Another pop right back up. So it's been a pretty volatile market, pretty hard to trade, I'd say. As far as day trades go, in my opinion, I'd like to see more continuations. So rather than seeing, the SPY start to pop up right now, I'd rather see like it consolidate low and then just continue to move slightly lower throughout the day. That would have made for a lot better of trading, in my opinion. But, now we're seeing the market pop, and I'll take it. It's definitely good for the longer term portfolio for sure here. I know I'm holding craft and stuff like that, and it's been holding up quite well, actually, the past few months. If we look at craft on like the daily chart, it's been really kind of uptrending, and I'm in it more around like 35, 36, somewhere really close to there. But yeah, we're all the way back up to 43 now, and still looks like it could keep going here over the next couple months. I don't think this uptrend is necessarily over, especially with inflation still running up. Let's see. So we have Ironical saying QQQ is going green. Yes, it is. It's really recovering. It's almost back up there. We still have 0.6% back to the upside, but yeah, it's trying. As long as we can get, honestly, if we get up to 315, that would be back up there pretty good, getting into the green. And I think 315 is a pretty big resistance level to keep your eye on. So maybe watch out for that with the QQQ today. But yeah, I mean, we're approaching 9:30 here. Probably going to end the stream pretty soon. So if you guys have any more questions you guys want answered, or you want me to cover any stocks or anything like that, definitely let me know. Let me pull up the earnings calendar for next week. That'll actually be a pretty interesting thing to look at here. Let's see. Here's the earnings calendar for this week. I am getting the one for next week, though, as I'm speaking. But for right now, though, we're just seeing a lot of crazy moves out of the overall market. And I hate to see, for example, like Draftkings continuing to fall down here. I know they're kind of staying low with earnings. Like, I was hoping to see Draftkings come back up with Corsair and maybe a few other of those stocks, but we're like not really seeing it. We just need to see those solid recoveries back, and I think that we might if these stocks keep moving. But for right now, it's so volatile that it's hard to gauge intraday. Like, for example, over the past few days, we've just had so many reversals. Like, if you got calls right now expecting DraftKings to keep going up, like, for example, I wouldn't be surprised if DraftKings ended up even below 13 today, given all the crazy movement we've seen. So just be really careful. I feel like that a lot of traders are going to get burned, especially day trading, over the next few weeks. So just be really cautious. But here we go. Here's the earnings calendar for next week. So here's what we have here. Let me zoom out just a little bit. So here's the monthly calendar here. So you can see next week we're going to have on Monday, Upstart, Tyson, XPO Logistics, GoodRx. I know those are pretty big. But on the 10th, we're going to have SoFi, Unity, Oxy, Roblox. I think that's going to be a huge day. Then we're going to have Disney and Rivian on Wednesday. So that'll be even bigger, I think. Disney and Rivian they've been some very hyped up companies lately. I know Disney has had a ton of, they've been in the news a lot, I should say, especially like with big headlines and stuff revolving around different stuff in politics, like different bills in Florida. And I know Florida took away their special district and stuff like that. That's going to hurt them a little bit with taxes. So keep that in mind with Disney. Thursday, we're going to have Coinbase and a couple other stocks there. So honestly, the big day, though, is going to be Wednesday next week with Disney and Rivian. That's going to be huge. And obviously Tuesday, I think, will be important too with SoFi, Unity, and Oxy. So definitely keep your eyes on the earnings. They could definitely be big next week too. It's definitely not like what we saw last week, though, with Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, and those stocks. We're definitely not seeing anything that crazy, but we are seeing some pretty big earnings players here. I think Coinbase will be a very interesting one to look at, actually. Let's go see Coinbase really quick, because they're right on this $100 support. And I know that we talked about this one a little bit earlier, but $100 is a huge psychological level. And look at that IV moving. So maybe they'll come in with some better numbers than expected. I really hope that they do here, but overall, probably going to end the stream here shortly, guys. I know Oliver says semiconductors making a comeback. LOL. Let's see that. Yeah, let's see it. AMD continuing to do well. Especially since market open, we've been having some nice pops back up. So I'll definitely take it with a lot of these plays. You know, it's definitely relieving to see this, especially with the way we woke up today. You know, whenever I started seeing SPY selling off and I started seeing all these big growth plays down 10% plus, like Shopify was earlier in the day, it was definitely worrying to see. But you know, we're coming back, and hopefully this recovery continues throughout the day. So I'm really glad you guys joined me today, this morning on the live stream here. Thank you, Alex, Oliver, Adam, Jerry, Hunter, Mike, of course, the other Mike. Let's see, Vicky, thank you, Lewis, Neighbor Jay, Sean. Yeah, thank you guys all for joining today. We had a pretty good stream. You know, the market, I will say, had some pretty crazy movement. It could have definitely have been better in my opinion, but overall, I'm pretty glad to see like AMD and those chip stocks coming back, and it's cool to see gold starting to pop back up. So glad to see that. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you guys for joining.